Welcome back to your favorite St. Louis sports podcast, The Lounatics. I'm Tyler, your host, back from vacation along with John, my co-host, and our special guest returning once again, Joe, former writer and pitching analyst for The Athletic. More importantly now, just an average guy who's willing to talk to us.
I don't know if I'm willing.
We may or may not have coerced him into this. We didn't even offer him beer. We just said, "Do you want to do this?
Do you want to do this? You can have a drink on camera
that you paid for."
Hey, that's still cheaper than the bar.
Yeah, it's true.
You're not wrong.
With that in mind, as we always love to start these things off with a bang, I am drinking, going back to the well. I haven't done it in several episodes, so I'm back to the Maker's Mark over there. So.
You did that
Golden
the last
Hour
time.
Select. That was the last time I drank it, actually.
He's a basic white guy.
Also, I found Buffalo Trace was in stock at the Walmart I was at today, so I picked up a couple bottles there.
Really? You shop at Walmart? I might have to drop off here now if you're shopping at Walmart. I thought you ended all of these podcasts with something against Stan Kroenke, and you're over here patronizing his family business.
It's his wife's family business, first of all.
Let's be clear about this. I am no longer a Walmart employee. I am very willing to disparage the name of Stan Kroenke. So he did nothing.
Even if you were a
he
Walmart employee, you'd be willing. Yeah, he did. He married up for sure. John, it looks like you're drinking a stout. Am I correct?
You are correct. Just a Guinness. Just a Guinness tonight.
I have a Golden Light.
Ooh.
The
lake
can. Yep.
Solid choice. All right.
I'm very
do you want to
sad
start
right
with
now.
Tonight? Yeah, I was like, I'm just in a pissy mood after the game tonight. So
It wasn't a good ending. I'll be honest with you guys. When it was 4-2 in the ninth, I went down, and my son is into it's called Farming Simulation, I think. Farming Simulator. It's an Xbox game. Well, it's a computer game, Xbox, whatever. And he's really into that right now. And I came down and we started playing that, and I walked back up and I saw that they lost. So I was like, I wasn't ready for that.
So let's talk about the plus sides of that. Goldie is starting to swing the bat a little bit better since the All-Star break. And we did get the 2-run home run from Mason Wynn after the single by Ciani. So, I mean, there were some positives there from the Cardinals.
I mean, there were some positives, and what I'm liking what I'm seeing from Arenado even a little bit. And I'm liking to see he had some swag plays in the field tonight. You can tell when he makes a play and he's got that smirk on his face, almost a little bit, that he's just like he's into it again. Whereas the other day, I forget, it was 5 days ago or whatever, and it was a little chopper over the pitcher, and he bobbled it or whatever, and he just looked like he didn't want to be there. But he's got that weird smirk that you're just maybe he's coming back around too. So if you've got these young guys, and then you got the old guys and Goldie and Arenado doing something, it might be exciting. It just might be.
Well, and Sonny Gray looked good. 7 innings, 2 runs. That's the best start we've seen out of him in a while.
Since mid-June.
It's still weird. So, I love pitching, obviously. That's what I made
do.
Yeah, I made a semi-living off of that. But, it's really weird how many pitches he throws over the heart of the plate and he gets away with. It's almost like you wonder if all these pitchers, like a Jordan Hicks back when he pitched for the Cardinals and he was just, constantly missing the plate, or a Dakota Hudson who was spiking 80% of his pitches. Is it really not that hard if you have movement? Throw it near the heart, and as long as you're changing your velocities and changing your arm angles, maybe it's not I mean, Sonny Gray makes it look not that bad, but as you said, he had a terrible June, but or July, and then didn't have a good start since June. So I don't know. Some of those balls that they hit tonight that were rockets were literally middle. And it blows your mind that a major league pitcher is able to just do that against major league hitters.
I think the difference for Sonny Gray and some of those other guys is just the sheer number of plus pitches he has.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
that allows him, I feel like, to keep them more off base, right? Where, hey, this guy's really got one or two plus pitches that you can sit on, um, sit on the other stuff. And I think that's a big difference. Obviously, getting it over the plate and throwing strikes is always going to be important, but that's the only thing that would be my biggest guess. But it's the same thing, right? It's Waino, not his last season, but his second to last season, throwing 88, 89 miles an hour and still being effective because he's changing speeds and adjusting his delivery to keep people off balance.
Can we talk about Waino for a second? Can we nothing about
Yeah.
pitching at all, like literally at all? But have you guys like heard this guy sing? Like
Yes.
he's miserable at it. And like he's just downright miserable. I love Waino. He's one of my favorite Cardinals to ever wear the uniform. But is there ever a guy in life that has ever like ridden his celebrity status so hard over the last couple of years, but aka getting that last contract that he got from the Cardinals, and now the MLB Network stuff. We obviously knew he was going to do that probably, but then he's performing at the Grand Ole Opry. He's performing with all these like massive country singers, and you just like listen to him, and you're just like, there's gotta be like on a 20 to 80 scale for like rating like prospects. He's like a 30 for like country singing, and he's out here doing all these incredible things that you're just like, man, it's just a lot of privilege going on there.
I mean, it is country music. You don't have to be that good to, like, quote unquote, be good.
Fine, but listen to the lyrics. Like, it's not like any of these lyrics you're like, man, this is something
How
that
much
I
country
need
music
to
have you
to.
listened to, Joe?
I don't.
Because there's a lot of country music lyrics that really
That
are
not good. Like, it's really, really bad.
the bar's pretty low.
I say that as someone who listens to country a
listens
lot.
to country. Yeah, I was like John and I both listen to a good amount of country, but the bar's pretty low. It's not like they're like putting together lyrics like Eminem. There's no Marshall Mathers out there in the country music world.
Maybe that's what we're missing. Maybe we can all stop all this money that we're making off this podcast and all
That's the
this
best
money
joke I've
that we're
heard today.
in our living, and we can find like a Marshall Mathers out there and invest in them, like a Marshall Mathers country version, and invest in him, and we'll make it big, make a record label out of it.
We could do that. That is a thing we could do.
Or we could play with Wisconsin in college game day or NCAA and
Hey.
Lose to Western Michigan or whatever.
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
God, who would do that?
Oh yeah, that was me. First football game I played in 15 years, and I was like, "Wow, I might not finish this game. I might just make them play on their own."
He was about to rage quit, controller through the wall.
I was pretty livid, actually. Turns out that playing video games is a perishable skill. If you didn't know that.
Oh, I for sure know that. I tried playing NHL the other. I used to think I was a really good NHL player, and I just played that for the first time in like 4-ish years, and holy smokes, that skill has long been lost.
Right. Oh my God.
So here's a question for you. Andre Palante, and I know we didn't give you anything like upfront or things to look at or whatever else. What have been your just general overarching thoughts, Joe, on Palante since he's kind of stepped into that 5 spot in the rotation?
I mean, I've liked what I've seen from him. I've liked it's kind of what we just talked about with Sonny Gray is he's just thrown. I don't know if there's just been a. I'd have to look at the league as a whole, but I don't know if like hitters just aren't as good this year, which maybe they are when you think of Goldie, you think of Arenado, but like it doesn't seem like he's doing anything crazy. Yeah, he learned the death ball or whatever you want to call it, and he went to some pitching labs over the off season where they told him like, hey, you're throwing a lot that go left or go glove side. We need something that goes arm side. But either way, like it doesn't seem like he's doing anything too special. From like a fit standpoint or like a project or predicted like performance level, it's nothing to write home about. But he's a number 5, so if he's a number 5 and he's out there going 5-6 innings, and you have a normally reliable bullpen. For whoever is listening, we're talking on August 1st at 10:31 p.m. and our reliable bullpen was very unreliable tonight. But if you have a reliable bullpen and you're going 5-6 innings, like you can't really complain out of a 5 out of Palante. But again, like there's nothing that I've watched, and I've watched more Cardinals this year than I probably have in like 3 to 4 years now. Like I don't after he gets through like 4 innings and you like blacked out for the first 3. You don't even know what really even happened. So it's nothing special to me. But I'm not going to complain if he's a 5. Now, if the Cardinals next year turn around and say, look how great he did for 2024, and they turn him into a 3 or a 4 next year, we're going to have some problems.
He's so predictable as a pitcher, too.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he is, but like he's got to get hurt soon, doesn't he? Has he been hurt before? Do you know if he's been hurt?
I mean, he's a Cardinals pitcher, so yeah, he has to be hurt soon. Like that's just the way it goes.
The way his body, he just like crossfires and like I don't know, he just throws so much into everything that you're just like, there's got to be an injury that's coming at some point. Without
that's
a doubt.
the reason we didn't sign Scherzer back when we had the opportunity. I mean, he throws too much of his body into it, and we were worried about injury risk.
We didn't even talk to Scherzer, so
let's not say that that's why we didn't sign him. We cheaped out.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it was.
So we're going to talk about Adam Wainwright. We talked a little bit about Stan Kroenke already. Let's talk about Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer, what was he? Parkway Central. I think it was Parkway Central. Yeah, and then he went to Mizzou. He literally reached out to, I think it was Wainwright at the time.
Yep.
And said he wanted to be a Cardinal. And we didn't even call him or his agent. Like, guys, just think about that. Arguably the best, I don't know like old people, but like arguably one of the best pitchers.
He's the most dominant pitcher of this generation.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. He's up there, but I mean, in a generation that includes
Clayton
Justin
Kershaw.
Verlander, like in Kershaw, like I don't know if I would say he's the most dominant. It's definitely not a guaranteed thing.
All right, well then top three.
Arguably the most dominant. I mean, including playoffs, I think he's the most dominant of the 3.
Oh yeah, well Kershaw. We all know about Kershaw in the playoffs. But yeah,
thank God for Kershaw in the playoffs.
What'd you say?
I said thank God for Kershaw in the playoffs.
Yeah, Matt Adams and Matt Carpenter. Those are some iconic photos, iconic videos that honestly, so this is really a tangent. I want to talk about Eric Fetty, and I want to talk about McGreevy. But before we get into that, iconic photos slash highlights of our lifetime, probably like at least of our recent lifetime, now that we're all old, are the David Freeze sliding into third with like the helmet off and clapping his hands or whatever in
Yes.
game 6. Um, and then those 2 home runs with the little Kershaw he's either bent over with like ass out or butt out,
Yeah.
sorry. Um
Oh, it's
or the
fine. We
crowd
curse on
yeah,
here all the time.
yeah.
The Nobly
Or
podcast.
yeah, or the crouching down. I forget which one was the crouching down. I think it was Carpenter's. Where you're just like, man, that picture, especially just knowing, because like that was back when ESPN was cool and like you actually like watched it and like Baseball Tonight and all that stuff.
Let's hold up a moment. Let's talk about how fucking perfect of a line that is. Because like when we were kids, it was like our parents talking about when an MTV was cool, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
now like we're adults and it's like, you remember when ESPN used to be awesome and now it sucks?
I mean,
Dude,
do you remember? I remember when MTV was still cool and showed music videos.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
MTV and VH1. But
Oh yeah,
I remember having multiple sleepovers in my parents' basement, and we'd go to bed and we'd have Sports Center on, and then I'd get up and go to the bathroom at like 3 in the morning, and it'd be the same highlight, but I was still so stoked to watch that highlight again. And now I don't even know. I mean, I guess Scott Van Pelt's done a good job in trying to make it fun again.
yeah.
But just watching highlights and not having just an entire like, it's like talk shows now. It's like talk
Right.
radio. It's not really highlights.
You remember how they used to do the not top 10?
Yeah, I loved
That
that,
was,
every Friday.
that was like one of the best segments that they had was the not top 10.
I'm just
Yeah.
the worst part about, so they do a top 10 plays every day, but they do a not
Right.
top 10 for the week. I think they needed to do like a top 10 like at the midway point of every hour and the not top 10 at the end of every hour.
They
Okay.
could. They've got to do something. Well, did you hear? See, we're gonna go on a lot of tangents here, I guess. Did you hear the new thing that they just dropped called Venue, where it's a new ESPN centered sports package that has like all of the Fox Sports, it has all of the Turner Sports, it has all of that. It's a streaming thing, of course. And it's $42.99 a month. That was just like announced today. I don't know who I we're getting to a point where like if you add all of the streaming services together, it's more than just what cable is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a little ridiculous.
You end up having to pick and choose what streaming services you want. I mean, you can't afford to buy them all.
Speak for
It will
yourself.
include games from the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, WNBA, NASCAR, and college sports, as well as golf, tennis, and soccer. Studio shows, pre- and post-game programming, and access to 30 for 30. See, no, this should just all be effing included with my ESPN Plus. Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I know.
like,
Well, that's what's weird. It's like they're competing with themselves because they're
Right.
still going to keep ESPN Plus and the Hulu Sports because like ESPN and Hulu is kind of like a thing. So now it's like who is like it's all under one umbrella, but they're financing it in a lot of different ways. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But also $42.99 a month. That is a lot of money. That's what $600 a year or something, $550 a year.
Yeah.
For just sports. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that.
Well, think about this, right? You can buy Sunday Ticket, NFL Sunday Ticket on its own now through YouTube for $400 a year, and I have not yet decided if I'm going to buy that. But like, that's I don't know. It's like $30 a month, average out.
Yeah.
35 maybe. Like, That's it's a lot to watch. Essentially 4 months of football, 5 months of football,
Yeah,
and
I
you don't
don't
even get
even.
all the games.
What is like the red zone package? Like how much is that a month or for like a season? Because I play fantasy football. I play with my high school friends and I play with my college friends, my pharmacist friends, and the only thing I really care about, especially not having a team here anymore, is my fantasy football team, and I really only care when my fantasy football team is scoring, and that's what red zone's all about. So I
It's
don't
only
need to
$80
watch.
a year.
Yeah, how
That's
much?
not bad.
80 for Red
That's it.
Zone. Mm-hmm.
Well, shoot, I need to get that then.
He's
Holy
writing it
heck.
down. He's literally writing it down. If you're not
Yeah,
watching the video, he's writing himself a note to buy it.
yeah.
There,
I
now
literally did.
that's if
Look.
you do. I think that's if you do it right. If you do the annual, like if you sign up for it like yearly, it's 80.
Right.
Otherwise, it's like $100 a year.
Right.
You know, I'm
Well,
going to be really upset if after this I research it and it's not $80. I'm going to probably come find you and charge you $80 for it.
well, it's also like the same thing as like MLB TV, right? Like MLB, and I get that they're contracted and they have the blackouts, so they can't just like undo that, right? But if
I
you
think they
really wanted to
could,
grow,
but
well, if you really wanted to grow baseball as a game, it's just really stupid that like you're only allowing MLB TV to stream out of market games. Like there are very few people that are big enough baseball fans that they will just watch a random baseball game if it's on. You know, like most people are really only interested in watching their own team because there's 162 games. It's really hard to consume all of that.
well, and then there's additional blackouts because like the really big national games that you'd
Yep.
want to watch,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
can't because those are also blacked out.
Exactly.
I mean, you would
Like,
think
I'm
in
sorry,
2020.
I'm not signing on to watch the Oakland Athletics and Marlins play.
Why not?
I mean, you don't like watching AAA baseball?
Yeah, why not?
Is
What do
it,
you
is
have
it
against
that
the
high
minor
now?
leagues?
I love me some Springfield Cardinals, but if I'm watching minor leagues, I'm watching the Cardinals minor leagues.
What's the closer's name for the Athletics? He's kind of exciting. The guy who throws like 100 miles an hour. He was in the All-Star game. That would be
Jordan
the only
Hicks.
reason why. Who is it?
Is
I'm-
it Mason Miller?
Yeah, Mason Miller. He would be the only thing that I would watch on in that matchup, especially now that Jazz Chisholm is a Yankee. Like, there's really no reason to watch the Marlins anymore with Sandy Alcantara out, Zach Gallen's gone. I feel bad for Skip Schumacher, but the writing was on the wall at the beginning of the year when they got rid of that GM. What was her name? The first female GM that they got rid of because they wanted to have someone oversee all of her baseball decisions. So she was like, "Nope, I'm out." So
Right after she got them to the playoffs finally
yeah,
and had built a good team.
yeah, that was
It
from
was
her.
it was Kim Ing.
Kim
Is who you're thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into Fetty, because let's talk. This is a perfect segue. So I'm sure you guys have heard or seen, especially if you're listening to 101, that Mozeliak is basically that this is it. He's riding out this contract and is probably going to go do whatever else he wants to do with his life, maybe like a fashionista or something. But
You know why he wears the bow ties, right?
why?
It was his granddad. It was his grandfather used to always wear bow ties. And when his grandfather passed away, he started wearing them.
Okay, so
As
I
a
wasn't
How dare you humanize him to
I
me?
wasn't dissing the bow ties. I was more dissing the fact that his slacks or pants or whatever are like soccer capris that he wears everywhere. Like the dude like buys clearance that doesn't fit his legs because he can't even afford the real length pants. But either way, so he may or may not be on his way out, whatever. But who made this? Was it him or this Heim Bloom made this deal for Fetty and Fam? Who do you think it was?
Hmm.
It does not scream of a Mozeliak move.
But it kind of does, because it reminds me of the Montgomery trade a couple years ago,
But does it?
where we traded a hurt center fielder for a starting pitcher with a year of control.
No. Don't compare those center fielders. Hold up a moment. Like this is Tommy Edman here, right? Like that's a different category.
Well,
Tommy Edman to Harrison Bader,
Yes.
who had just come off a Gold Glove.
Yes,
No.
that is not the same thing. Tommy Edman has been universally loved since he became a Cardinal. Bader was not. That's not the same thing.
Bader, they wanted us to love Bader. Because if you remember when we got the light blue jerseys, the victory blues that ended up being the losing blues, they had him in like the opening and the intro and all that stuff. And anytime they ever like teased anything, it was always Bader with his locks of hair. They wanted him to be loved, and he just wasn't. He's a New Yorker that thinks he's Mike Trout. Rest in peace to his meniscus. He thinks he's that, and he's not, and that just didn't fly in St. Louis. I don't know. I just think it's a. The reason why I don't think it's a Mozeliak trade is Mozeliak loves having a guy that is pretty good but not great, but can play like every position. And yes, the Cardinals have that in a Brendan Donovan. So you don't really need two of them. You just don't see, they've hung on to Tommy Edman for so long that I was like, there's no way they're going to let him go now. And they did, and it was an incredible deal. You look at what they got out of that deal out of Tommy Edman, who hasn't even been able, like, because it was his wrist, right? That was injured. Like,
Yes, he had wrist surgery.
Look at Mark DeRosa. Like, Mark DeRosa was a really, really good hitter, like for like a middle infielder, and he hurt his wrist, I think, with the Cardinals, and he was never, and it was still relatively young in his career. He was never the same hitter ever again, and the Cardinals were able to basically trade a guy that was might not ever be the same for Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham. Like, with Fetty's got control next year too. It was a remarkable trade. Like, that, if this is the tail end of John Mozeliak, and if the Cardinals end up being what they should probably be based on what the National League is, like, this could go down as one of his best trades, in my opinion. And it's at the end.
He's got 1 year left, right? Next year's the last year in his contract.
I believe
For
so.
Mozeliak, yeah.
For Mo, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I
Fetty's
think.
got. I know Fetty's just got 1 more year, but I was pretty sure Mo's just got 1 more year left.
Yeah, I think he's got 1 year left. But, like, so let's talk about that. What is he? Yeah, it runs through the 2025 season. What is a guy who's been with the Cardinals since, what is it? Since 2000 and he's been the general manager since 2007. And now president of Pobo, whatever you want to call it. What is he going to do? Because he's still pretty young. What is he going to do with his life after the Cardinals?
He'll take a job at the league office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what? So they said that. I saw that or heard that on the radio.
Oh,
so
I did not. I was just kind of.
Oh no, that's just what
yeah.
That's usually what happens to the
Right.
younger guys like
Right.
that.
The younger GMs, that's what they do.
Do you ever hear from them again? Like,
yeah. What's his name? The guy who did the Red Sox and then the Cubs. Why can't I think? Theo Epstein. Right?
Epstein.
Yeah. Now he's he's a special advisor to Manfred, right? Like, does whatever he feels like and gets paid a lot of money, basically.
Yeah.
That's what Mo's going to be looking for.
Yeah.
Granted, taking the Red Sox and the Cubs to World Series championships after their curses, I think, is a little bit more impressive than what Mo has done. But
Wait. Hold on. Tyler, you didn't tell me this. Do we have like a non-Mo fan here? Are you guys both not Mo fans? Because if you aren't, we're going to have to talk for a little bit.
What do you mean?
Because I
That we
love John.
don't like Mo?
I think John Mozeliak has done as well as I think he could have possibly done given the ownership group of the St. Louis Cardinals.
I think I think Mo's biggest issue is his ability to communicate to the fan base.
But should he be?
I don't disagree with either of those assertions, right? I 100% agree that his hands are tied. I 100% agree that he's really bad at marketing it and messaging it and whatever. My concern, and part of the issue is, I think he's kind of, he's the president of baseball operations, and I feel like, okay, we won the Goldie trade. We obviously won the Arenado trade. But like a lot of the other trades we have made have not been great. Like I get the free agent thing is beyond his control because of the money and whatnot. Yeah. But like, okay, we have lost a lot of trades, and that kind of, I think, falls on him as the guy at the top.
The Pobo.
But you look at like the John Lackey trade. What about that one? You look back at like John Lackey was huge.
The Lackey trade, the Montgomery trade was a good one.
The Montgomery
trade was huge. That was a big
Quintana
one.
Was a big good. W.
Yeah, Quintana, Jay Happ. Like I know that these are all like bottom of the barrel, but he like looked at. I don't know.
He got great value for a lot of those trades. I think the trades that he's going to be remembered for, sadly, are not those trades, though. The trades that he's going to be remembered for are the Liberatore trade, the trade for Ozuna, those kind of things. And I think the other big issue that I have with Mo, and again, I don't know how much control he had over it, but it's the building out of the staff under him, and having enough people to help evaluate the talent and understand what you have, or to develop the talent that you have. Because I feel like Cardinals have not always done a great job. I mean, you look at, Alcantara and Gallen. Again, those are easy ones to point to, but we didn't know what we had.
Yeah.
Arozarena was because he posted a video of Schilt.
Yeah, in the clubhouse. He was traded 7 days later. Yeah. One of the things I love that you brought that up, and I know I kept hinting at it in our first podcast. But from an internal scouting department, not an external scouting department, an internal scouting department was non-existent. They didn't know and it's to this day is showing true with what we saw with Dylan Carlson. Now, is Dylan Carlson partially, is it because he's been hurt so many times? Probably. I mean, the swings, the ferocious swings we saw in Springfield and Memphis, they don't exist anymore. And it's probably because his ankle, I'm sure if you got an MRI or an x-ray of it, probably looks awful. His collarbone or whatever he broke when he collided with Jordan Walker in spring is probably impacting the extension on his swing. But like, regardless of that, like the internal scouting department of the St. Louis Cardinals is so bad that they can't even evaluate their own talent that they see every single day. And yet we're supposed to expect them to externally evaluate young guys in another organization when we make these trades. That's why I think a lot of these trades that they've made and succeeded on are on major leaguers that are already been proven. And like, as we were talking about earlier, you could see if they're good if you have an MLB TV subscription, or you can see if they're like, they didn't have to send anyone out there to evaluate or use a Moneyball guy to evaluate the stats from low A and all that stuff. It's just very disappointing, and it all goes back to when Dan Kantrovitz was the scouting director of the Cardinals, and he was running the drafts, and he actually created a computer system for the Cardinals that I'm assuming they still use. I'm sure it's intellectual property, but I'm sure it hasn't been fine-tuned since he left. But when he left to go be the assistant general manager for the A's, the Oakland Athletics, we just talked about who watches the Oakland Athletics. He said that he left because the Cardinals slash Mozeliak didn't value what he brought to the team. And I know this because I talked with Dan at the time. He's 100% not listening to this, but sorry, you don't have a
That's
guy
fine.
who
Nobody
works
else
with.
is either.
Yeah, but like he essentially said, like, I hope that the Cardinals understand that they need to put value in this at some point in the future. And here we are. That was like 10 years ago now, or 8 years ago now. We're still wondering if they're putting value in it. So exactly what you just said. It blows my mind that an organization this big, valued as much as it is, can't even have an internal talent team that, like, just spend a couple million a year and that would be enough, and they're not even doing that.
Honestly, they could spend, you know, $1.5 million a year, give each of us $500,000 contracts, and we'll run the data for them.
Yeah, sure, I'm on it. I'll use my $80 to Red Zone to help run it.
I'll
I don't know.
just send me all the box scores and the numbers, and we'll start compiling and putting shit together.
Yeah. So let's talk about Fetty. Before I get into what I think of Fetty, what do you guys think of the addition of Eric Fetty?
John, do you want to go first? Or you want me to?
You can go first.
I think he's a solid like 2B to 3 pitcher from what we've seen this season, but that's based on this season. If you look at his previous MLB career, he's more of a 4 to 5 guy. But looks like he's improved a lot. And he's definitely developed and worked on his pitchers when he was in the KBO, the Korean League. Coming back, the big thing that I was trying to like read up on and do stuff on, and I think I actually asked you to see if you could find stuff on it, Joe, but was they kept talking about the sweeper, which is really just a slider, but it's what they keep calling them. And they're like, oh, well, the sweeper, he added this sweeper to his arsenal and it helped a lot. But then I was trying to find stuff, and I was noticing he throws his cutter up and in, I think, to lefties a lot. And it's something I was intrigued by and kind of what the thought process was on that. So hopefully maybe you can help me understand that more. The other nice thing I'm excited about is, in my mind, Sonny Gray's a really solid number 2. He's like a 2A type pitcher. He's not really a true number 1. But if Fetty continues to pitch the way he is, you really have like a 2A and a 2B as your 1-2 guys going into next year right now. And it'll allow you to cut loose one of those guys who we have that 1 year option on. Most likely at this point, Lance Lynn, based on performance, but we'll kind of see how that goes. All right, John, you're up.
I mean, I don't really disagree with anything you just said, right? I think historically he's been a 4 to 5. I think this year he is performing at a 2 to 3. If we get the person or the pitcher that he's been in the first half of this season for the back half, that's a really good pickup for this year. And hopefully he can continue it afterwards. I'm looking at his pitch mix right now. I think he's got a pretty, standard pitch mix for what we're seeing anymore. You've got a cutter and a sinker, a sweeper, a changeup. Technically, he's thrown a 4-seamer twice this year. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's probably a mischaracterization. But yeah, I like the trade. Tommy is not played yet for us. We've been wondering what we're going to do with him in the outfield. We really like the outfield options we have right now. And the part that I think that is kind of going under the radar for this is I think Tommy Pham is a big addition to this team. Tyler, you and I have talked a lot that this team has kind of historically been full of nice guys, and even though they all want to play hard and they want to win and whatever, there's really no one who's going to be a vocal person that's intense and like calling people out for not playing. And if there's one thing that Tommy Pham does really, really, really well at an elite level, it is calling people out. So
Yeah, no, I hadn't even gotten into Tommy Pham because he just asked about Fetty. But if we're looking at the trade as the whole, yeah, Tommy Pham's a big part of that, and I think brings a swagger to the clubhouse that we were missing.
So my question about Tommy Pham is, I remember when he left the Cardinals, he was upset because he wanted one of those speed treadmills. He wanted one of those treadmills that you see the guys running like 34 miles an hour on or whatever.
yeah,
Do you think they got him one? Like, do you think he had to bring his from? Because I'm sure, of course, the Chicago White Sox probably bought him one because they care a lot about their
Honestly,
baseball.
it was.
I mean, he's played for a lot of teams.
Included in the trade.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget. I mean, he played for the Mets, right? For like a short stint. Like they probably bought him anything he wanted because they were just buying things.
He was
for
on the
everyone.
D-backs last year too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was the
But
thing.
I think it probably came from the Mets, and it's just followed him everywhere he's gone since.
Yeah, I might need to have to ask him if I can use that. And I play basketball every Tuesday night, and I need to get some. My speed is down, so I need to get in the clubhouse and try to get on that. So
You got his
what
number?
I wanted to talk about Fetty.
Right, that's the takeaway I got too. Wait, you have Tommy Pham's number?
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I really don't. Don't have Tommy Pham's number. Not even gonna fake it. But I looked into this. I didn't look into the cutter, so I'm sorry that I didn't look into the cutter. But I looked. I'm a nerd. I'll be honest with you, but I'm really into the way the baseball spins. Okay, which for the people that are listening, which is like 5 people, the way the baseball spins is known as the spin axis. Okay. And he throws the slider on a spin axis of like 80 degrees. So if you're looking at like zero, I need to do it the other way because people are watching me. 0 to 90 to 180 to 270 up to 360. So his slider is spinning up here, and then his sinker is spinning down here, and they're going in opposite directions, and it's literally almost identical, but 180 degrees apart. So what does that mean? What does that mean for from a batter standpoint? In theory, now this is all in theory, but it's clearly happening based off of how successful the slider's been. And I just looked at the heat maps of where like the landing point is for the sinker and where the landing point is for the slider. So he's very clearly doing this. But I wrote a ton of articles about pitch tunneling, and I know that Pitching Ninja is all about it now, even though I want to say that me and my guy, Cardinal Gifts, did it long before Pitching Ninja. But either way, that's neither here nor there. But this is a guy, and if you've ever watched a KBO highlight, or you've seen anything with their like cameras that go like the whole 360 view, and they're way more high depth than what we see from Bally Sports, because Bally Sports is broke and is like broadcasting our games in 720p. But if you've seen, I guarantee you he was over there, and there was some nerdy guy over in the KBO that said, hey, your slider has this amount of break to the glove side, and it has this spin axis, and your sinker has this amount of break to the arm side with this spin axis, and they're like, they counteract each other perfectly. You should just start throwing these all the time. And you look at the numbers, and he's thrown the slider or sweeper, whatever you want to call it, 413 times. He's thrown his sinker 592 times this year. And they literally have 22 inches of break horizontally difference between the two. And if they're throwing it out of the same tunnel, at the decision point for the hitter, they have no idea if it's going to be the sweeper or if it's going to be the sinker. And if there's 22 inches of difference between it at the end point and at the decision point, there's no way they're going to be successful as a hitter. So that just like gets me giddy just thinking about it. But that's just the nerd in me. But the fact that I guarantee you, and I didn't have time to look into his career before he went over to the KBO, but I guarantee you there was some nerdy guy eating whatever they eat over in Korea, that was just watching his like 3D review replays and was like, dude, this is what you need to be successful. And now he's doing it. And now he's by Fangraphs War the 19th best starting pitcher in Major League Baseball this year. Like, that's remarkable. And it's exciting that he's on our team now.
Right. And
two things on
the
that.
one thing.
Go ahead, John.
Who goes first? Okay,
you go first.
I just want to like simplify kind of what you're saying for the people who are maybe not quite as nerds about the science of it. Is what you're saying basically is that they're spinning in opposite directions, but he throws them at the exact same arm angle, and because they're spinning at literally like kind of on the same plane but in opposite directions, the batter can't tell which way it's spinning and they can't tell which way it's going to move. And so then they're kind of having to guess, and, you know, who knows what you get when you're doing that. So, okay, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, two things. One, I think in Korea they eat soul taco. Is what I've heard.
Which is a St. Louis-based restaurant. Please continue.
Yeah, but you it was a joke. It was a.
I know your joke. I'm letting it go on. That's my hobby. That is my one hobby that I have. It is not this podcast. It is ruining your jokes or ignoring them on this podcast.
That's the only reason John's really here. The other thing is like you said, I mean, for those of you who you know aren't thinking, I mean, 22 inches is massive. And that's, you know, coming from a guy. So even a woman would say 22 inches is massive. And so that's a lot of distance there either way. And so I just want to make sure people are really, because is the plate 18 inches? Is that what is it wide, correct?
Plate with inches. Let's see. That pulled up how wide regular plates are. So I'm going to do home plate width is
you're
17 inches.
I was close with I was close.
Yeah.
But again, you're saying, I mean, the break, so if it's coming down the middle, if it looks like it's potentially coming down the middle and spinning, you know, that's a difference of, hey, I need a guess on, you really realistically say 10 inches either side. So I'm guessing inside or outside half of the plate, and you have to guess right now.
Yep. And that's what's exciting about it. But here's the deal. So kind of going back to Sonny Gray and kind of going back to my little, when I hinted at with Jordan Hicks, what you just said is 22 inches, the plate 17. Are they able, is it going to get to a point where these hitters are just, if it's down the middle, they're just not going to swing, regardless of what the pitch is, knowing that it's going to probably break off of the plate? And then, so he's going to have to make the adjustment. So this is what I'm really going to look into. Probably, we won't see much, and I think he pitches tomorrow or on the 2nd. We're not going to see much yet because he's a new pitcher to the Cubs, whatever. Well, no, he's not. He pitched there or pitched against them. But like, if he then has to make the adjustment where he needs to aim a little bit further out with the slider to get it into the strike zone, well, if he does that, then the tunneling aspect is gone. So it's one of those cat and mouse games where, like, right now it's working. Hopefully it continues to work. But are the Cardinals then going to get to October and the hitters are going to be like, yeah, we fell for this all year, but now we're not going to swing, and now we're going to take our bases, or we're going to just settle on, put our mind on that it's going to be a sinker, and every one of the sliders you're just going to spit on it and it's going to go out of the zone. So that's just the fun part. That's why these guys get paid a whole lot more money than I get paid. I don't even know how much he makes. Probably not that much, but well,
Who,
respectively,
Fetty?
yeah, he makes
Fetty's seven
seven
and
and
a
a
half
half
mil.
million. So, like, is he going to be able to make an adjustment when the hitters make an adjustment come September and then hopefully October? Or is he just going to do what the Cardinals have done since basically 2011 or whatever and just fall apart in the playoffs?
Uh, it'll be tough. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not. I'm nervous for that, and I think that's where you get into like elite pitchers make adjustments and are ready for those things. And I think that's where you'll see if he's really ready to take that next step is into the season into the playoffs.
And let me say this real quick before anyone thinks that I'm like out here like phrasing Eric Fetty as like the next Cy Young. Like he's not. He really isn't. But the next Cy Young, I mean, there weren't any of them that were available. Like Jack Flaherty was the best Cardinal that was our best pitcher that was probably available. He was never coming back to the Cardinals. There's no chance. But like to have a guy like this, it's something to get excited about. What they are, and that's why I'm excited. But don't think that I'm like you were saying earlier. We're not getting like prime Max Scherzer here. This is still Eric Fetty who pitched in the KBO last year. I just think he found something that's allowed him to have this amount of success. And it's crazy now that I look at how old he is. I'm older than these people now. Like this is ridiculous
That you're
that I'm
older
now
than the
talking.
old guys.
Yeah, I'm talking about kids now.
Yeah, that's it's a sobering moment. I've had that one recently myself.
Yeah, shoot, he's younger than me. Oh man, and he's
Or
old.
the fact that or we talk about like Roman Berkey and like, oh, he's had this really long career and he's younger than I am.
Yeah,
Yes. Which, by the way, fantastic article released today on the Players Tribune about mental health, written by Berkey. Everyone should go and read it. Yes.
Yeah,
Fantastic
super
article.
good. Awesome. Yeah, if you haven't read it, Joe, go read it.
I need to.
Not right now, but after.
I mean, it might be
you
more
could. He wouldn't
exciting
miss
than
much.
this, so I should probably read it. No, I'm just kidding.
It is definitely more exciting than this.
While we're talking about pitchers who pitched overseas and came back, Miles Michaelis, we talked a lot about last time you were on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what he has changed has continued as a whole. I'm looking at like his last 5 games because I felt like he's still been doing really well. Outside of the one clunker against the Cubs, he's been again still a very, very solid pitcher and really, I mean, a solid number 3 guy.
I mean, I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I could have 100% thought that this was going to be another one of those where you're just like they signed him for too long, and he wasn't going to be anything towards the end of his career. Shoot, how even old is he? Now I'm talking about all these people.
He's older than us.
Okay, he's 35, almost 36. Here we go. He is old. Holy smokes!
He's like a year and a half
got one foot in the grave.
Yeah.
Forget that guy. Yeah.
But I thought he was done. I thought there was nothing. And yeah, I mean, you look at his overall numbers for the year. I mean, it's not great. It's fine. But from a guy that I thought was I had no expectations at all. And so yeah, we're a month later since our podcast, and like you said, other than the one bad outing, he's still doing what he needs to do. As a 4, as a 3, as a 4. And I mean, if Lance Lynn isn't going to be what we expect him to be the rest of the year, he's going to have to step up. So hopefully he can continue doing it. But either way, if you would have told me you'd get 124 innings out of Miles Michaelis at 1.5 wins above replacement, I would have done cartwheels about it. And that's where we're at. So we're basically, as long as he doesn't step back, we're at the base of what I was expecting, or the max I was expecting out of him. So we're playing with house money. The problem is you can't play with house money when you're 56 and 53. He's going to have to keep it up the rest of the year, and let's hope he's able to do that.
Yeah. No, I think Michaelis is way more important than people realize to this rotation moving through the end of the year. Lance Lynn going down, I mean, it's actually good timing because it allows Palante to stay in the rotation. If you heard any of the interviews or any of the people talking with him after his last start when we traded for Fetty, the guy sounded defeated because he had done everything he needed to do to be a part of the rotation and felt like he was getting demoted. And I think Lance Lynn going down actually is good for Palante. But it doesn't really leave a lot of opportunity for other young guys, which is kind of my segue to McGreevy, who just came up. And again, it's a 1-game sample size, so I'm not trying to blow this out of the water. But that 1 game, to me, at least showed that, hey, you know what? This guy could be ready in the next, season and a half to make a big contribution to the club.
Hold on, John had some excitement in his voice there. What did you just have to? What were you thinking there, John?
Well, I was just going to say when you were talking about Palante, having an opportunity because Lance Lynn goes down. That's why most of the teams that are true contenders can go 6 or 7 deep in their rotation because you're always going to have somebody go down or have to make changes or for whatever reason. It's a long season. And so having that kind of depth and ability to bring in a serviceable 5 starter, your 5 through 7 guys should hopefully all be good enough to be a 5th guy in the rotation. And that's a thing that I think the Cardinals have missed. And I mean, let alone a 5th starter. Let's start talking feel like we've had a few years where we've been missing a 3, right? Like we've definitely, had some issues there. So that was all I was going to say is we need that kind of depth. And I've been happy to see that.
And so let's talk about McGreevy a little bit because I had all but given up on old Michael McGreevy. I had all but given up on old Michael McGreevy when he was drafted because I felt like it was another one of those high floor, very low ceiling draft picks that they were like, he'll get up there and he'll be a 4, or he'll get up there and maybe be a 5, or he'll get up there and maybe be a long reliever. And it didn't excite me to see that he's still, and man, this is all about age that we're talking about tonight, which is kind of sad. But how old is he? He is 24 years old, and he's just now made like a major league start, his first start. So I had basically everything that I believed about him going into the start the other day was that he was not going to make it. There was nothing to expect from him because he'd been in the minors forever. But then I see his pitch data. The dude, and this is only one start, so obviously it takes a little while for pitch classifications. But this is a advertisement for brooksbaseball.net, but brooksbaseball.net is one of the greatest.
What a throwback.
Yeah, it is my favorite thing in the world. And he had 6 pitch classifications from his start the other day. And yes, it's probably going to button up for future starts if he makes future starts, but I look at axes and I look at movements, there's a chance that he actually does have 6 different pitches. Now, does he know that he has 6 different pitches? Maybe not.
I mean, he is a Cardinals pitcher, so I mean, the development on the pitching side is, maybe not as advanced as it could be. It's not like he's in the Rays organization.
Yeah, exactly. If he was in the Rays, he'd already be in Cy Young candidate at this point. But no, it's remarkable to think that he threw these pitches, each one of these at least a double-digit amount, a 4-seamer, a sinker, a changeup, a slider, a curveball, and a cutter. If he's really able to maneuver pitches like that to the amount that we saw, Yeah, he only had 3 strikeouts. Yeah, it was because he was the very first time he's ever been seen by by every one of those hitters. But like, that's exciting to think that he even has that capability. I just assumed he'd come up, he'd have a four seamer, he'd have a changeup, and he'd have a slider, what we're normally seeing. But if he's able to move it to the point of that he could have 6 different pitch types, that's an exciting pitcher. It really is.
Well, and
I
like
will
I said,
say,
I didn't want to blow anything out of the water, right? Like it's one outing, but it's telling to me that he has the potential to really be a contributor, potentially a number 3 starter down the road with the pitch mix that I was seeing with what I was seeing the other day.
I was going to say, Baseball Savant does credit him for 6 different pitch types in his game against the Rangers.
Yeah.
So,
And like that's exciting to me. Yeah, now he's
yeah.
only throwing 92, 93. So how long does that go? But again, like these are all pitches. He's got glove side pitches, he's got arm side pitches. He's got 92 all the way down to low 80s. Like that's enough. And you look at his release points. His release points are all pretty buttoned up. Like that's enough to be a successful big league pitcher. Let's hope Dusty Blake's the guy that can bring him to that next step, because I don't think there's been a guy in the minor leagues that has been showing Michael McGreevy that he had. I don't even know if he knows he has 6 different pitches. So I'm hoping Dusty Blake can tell him that, because uh, again, this is a diss on the player development and the St. Louis Cardinals from the pitching standpoint, who haven't had anyone since Michael Wacha. But if they're able to do this, if he's able to be something, even if he's a long reliever throwing 4 different pitches, that's more than what I expected out of him, considering he's 24 and this was the first time we've seen him in the big leagues.
I have 2 more pitching things to bring up, and not about different pitchers. So I think McGreevy is exciting. I agree. I think it'll be interesting to see if we're actually able to unlock that potential. And I know you mentioned the velocity, but we also talked earlier about pitchers like Wainwright who are pitching 88, 89 miles an hour. And as long as you can move and keep people on their toes, you've got that ability to get people out. And that's really all that matters. Can you get guys out? You can be an effective big league pitcher doing that. Tink Hence had been on the shelf there for a little while. But if you guys didn't catch, earlier this week, he came out and pitched 1.2 innings.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's coming back, which is exciting to see. And those of you who don't follow the Cardinals as closely as the rest of us, Tink Hence is like the number 2 prospect for the Cardinals, number 50 something, I think, overall. I think technically Jordan Walker, I think they might still have, or Mason Wynn is number 1.
Most of the last list I had looked at still had Walker listed as a major league player. I don't know if I've ever heard of them moving a guy back to the.
I don't know.
No, they graduate.
I think he started the year at number 2 because I think he was behind Mason Wynn.
Right.
But Mason Wynn graduated, so that's probably why I'm thinking he's number 2 still. But he's somebody I thought at the beginning of the year could be a September call up as bullpen help. With the injury stuff, I'm not sure if they'll do that. I think they'll play it safe depending on how that goes because of the injuries. But it's just happy to see him pitching again after the injury issue that he had. Somebody I really want your thoughts on, and we'll make it short and sweet. But have you watched any games with Paul Skeens pitching, Joe? I know he's not a Cardinals pitcher, but the guy, the bit that I've seen is impressive to me, but I'm not near as in tune with it as you are.
Right. Like, I watched a little bit of Paul Skeens and it was impressive to me. Like, no shit. He's been very impressive this year.
He's been so impressive, but I really like his number 1 fan in the stands too. Livy Dunn is also very impressive too. But yeah, probably shouldn't say that, but that's okay. But
Hey, I like how you worried about that after my how to measure inches comment.
yeah, I mean, you just got me down that wrong path, like mentally. So I blame that. I blame that entirely on you. But
That
no,
one's on me. Sorry, guys.
but he's so impressive. But it's one of those things that, and kind of going back to Tink Hence, what you just said is, I thought Tink Hence had the perfect mechanics, and he got hurt. I back in the day, I thought Carlos Martinez had perfect mechanics, and he got hurt. So now we got Paul Skeens doing things with a baseball that like you shouldn't be able to do. So when is he going to get hurt? And that's just what's sad about all of this. And you can't blame the Cardinals. He has zero. I mean, the Cardinals gave him his first loss, but he has zero relation to the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's not why he's going to get hurt. It's just the splinker or whatever they call it, the things that he's able to do with a baseball, like your tendons and muscles and joints should not be able to do that in a healthy manner. So when is the injury coming? It's got to be coming soon.
When do the Pirates trade him is the next question.
As soon as they get half a major league roster for him, as soon as the Padres come calling is really the answer here, right? Like when the Padres are ready to ship out an entire AAA team to the Pirates, that's when he gets traded.
Holy I mean, aren't the Padres owners still taking out like loans and stuff to cover like their salaries and stuff? So, man,
that's why they traded so many minor league players. They couldn't pay him any of the minor league guys anymore anyway.
Well, no, they traded like half of their top prospects for Soto for less than a year of Juan Soto.
So prior to Soto, they had like the number one farm system in baseball. And now I think after this last trade, I'm pretty sure they're like 28 or 29.
Yeah, they have nothing left. And, there is definitely, I was very jealous of Padres fans there for a while that like their team was going for it. Now, I did laugh at their expense because it epically failed. Same way with the Mets, right? I was very jealous of the Mets fans that the Mets were going for it. And then it epically failed. And I'm like, well, at least we didn't waste like 500 something million on our on our team salary this year just to be just as bad as we are. So, consolation prize, right?
Yeah, we might be top 10 in payroll, but we weren't number one this year, so
we're not.
Get wrecked, posers.
Did you really just use the word posers on a 2024 podcast?
Is poser still a thing?
Is it not in style anymore? You're more hip than us. What are the kids saying?
I'm not hip at all, but I just don't remember. I don't think I've used poser since like high school.
Yeah, no. But you realize we were in high school at the same time, so it's just kind of stuck with me. And I did say get wrecked instead of what I normally say.
Get wrecked is fine. That's still okay.
Yeah, well, I adjusted because I usually don't use the word wrecked. I usually worded the different word.
You seem like you're avoiding that word, Tyler. What word are you trying to avoid right now?
I usually say get fucked, posers, if you wanted to know.
Oh, is that what it was? I had no idea.
Yeah, you had no idea. I mean,
we're not even
marked as explicit on stuff anyway, so that's where we mark our podcast 16? Explicit.
Are they 14 or 16?
The thing I'm seeing has them listed at 12th.
12th, okay.
With 176, which is pretty consistent. And when you account for inflation, we've really probably we're spending even less than we used to, probably, because I feel like we're pretty consistently at that 170 mark. And so
have been for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
My last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is Dylan Carlson. I know we touched on it previously. So I was looking back at his career after we traded him because I love Dylan Carlson. I thought he was going to be a great asset for us. We had 2020 and we called him up during the COVID year and he looked good. 2021 was his true rookie year and it was a solid season for him. then he started having injuries and other things and stuff like that. And I just wonder, looking at the injuries he's had and how quickly we rushed him back, like, did we rush him back from some of those injuries too quickly? Did we potentially set him up for failure? Did he maybe need more time in the minors? I have all of these questions. And for him, I'm really excited that he got traded because he's somebody who I think has more potential, and maybe at another place, fresh start, a fresh, different set of eyes helping him. Maybe he can be successful because he's not, I am still rooting for the guy. And I want to see him succeed, but part of me wonders, what did we do as an organization, or what could we have done differently?
So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I can blame this one on the Cardinals, which I want to always do, because that's just more exciting than blaming it on the player. But I don't think they rushed him back. In any of these injuries, I don't think they did, because in all of these injuries that happened, I remember distinctly thinking, so when is he going to come back? So, like, obviously, I'm not a doctor or like a medical doctor, whatever you want to call it.
I was like,
I like how he slipped that in.
Yeah.
I like how he pivoted there.
Yeah, I'm not a medical doctor, but like, so I don't know how to read an MRI, or I don't know how to read a CT scan or an X-ray. Like, I can see the obvious, but like, I always thought, like, man, it seems like he's been out forever. So it's hard for me to say that they necessarily rushed him back in any of his injuries. I just think that we're not. I think there's more to these injuries, and more to that, maybe that these were just like long lasting injuries that he's never gonna get over. Now, I love the guy. I really do. I have a helmet. I was trying to get it. I was trying to look like Sly, but it's locked away in a case. But I have one of his helmets from his rookie year, that I really wanted him to be good at, because then it'd be cool because I have his helmet. So now I might just burn it. But like, I wanted him to be good. I just, what you see of him now in the batted ball profile, and not even the batted ball profile, because that's sabermetrics, whatever. You take the old school scout that watches him swing. No data around it. You just watch him swing. You don't have a little blast motion on the end of his bat to see how fast he's swinging. He doesn't swing hard quick anymore. There is nothing to his swing from the right side or the left side. It seems like every hit that he had for the last year and a half was like a tomahawk hit as a righty, where they were like the little fliner, like the John Jay fliner into the outfield, that you were like, you never saw like if you watch the game tonight, Suzuki's homer was gone in like 4 seconds, or like 2 seconds, and it was 459 feet. Like, I don't know if Dylan Carlson could hit it 459 feet with two hits, like two swings in a row. So it just wasn't the same anymore. And I hope that he gets down to Tampa, and I hope magically his ankles healed, magically his clavicles healed, magically he's back to what he needs to be. I wasn't seeing it. But again, I'm not a medical doctor. I just play one on TV.
I'm glad you play one on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
channel is
guys
that?
think?
What streaming service?
So what do you guys think? Do you think he's going to be able to turn around, or do you think this is it?
I think he needs a different strength and conditioning regimen, because I think there's something there with his. I mean, the guy's lost a ton of weight and doesn't look like the weight he's lost is healthy. I feel like there's something else going on. Like he's lost a lot of bulk.
He does.
And
He
muscle
does.
like
I
mass
agree
with
with
it.
that.
I think it too.
Yeah, you think
So
about when he first came up, he looked like he looked like a baseball player. Like he looked like a guy who was out there ready to go and hit it a mile every day. And he definitely does not. He doesn't really look feeble. He just looks withdrawn.
If you look at if you compare him to when he came up to now, He does. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like comparing Yachty in '06 to Yachty in 19. Like they look completely different.
Yeah. Whereas Yachty looked like he just like, decided to eat better. Like
Yeah,
Dylan Carlson looks
except
like
Yachty
he
had
like
more weight to lose, and
right.
Carlson didn't. But the difference in how they look to me
Yes.
is similar,
Yeah.
and I think that will be huge. Is just getting a good. I think it maybe a different approach to the strength and conditioning can maybe unlock some of that potential again. But no, I really do wish the best for him, and I wish the best for Tommy Edman too. Even though I'll be rooting against the Doyers.
Okay, Randy Character. I didn't know
I've
I had
listened way
Randy.
too much.
Yeah, Randy Character here calling them the Doyers.
So funny story. I call Tyler out for that at least once a
Mhm.
month. That we're basically just repeating what he heard on ESPN that morning. So I
Oh,
love that you did that.
well, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean that. I just know. What do you call the? God, what's the hockey team that he always says a different name? It's a Canadian team. Uh, Calgary. How do you say Calgary?
Calgary.
Yeah, he says Calgary, and I'm always like, just stop, Randy. You
So
know everything.
the
Stop.
Doyers is funny because my grandpa used to say that. So to me, it's
Okay.
funny.
So is this real, or are you just dissing me on Grandpa's or Dad's
No, no,
twice?
no,
Because
no. That's a real thing. But
okay,
my grandpa on my dad's side used to make up stupid names for everything and make fun of names for everything. So listening to characters say Doyers to me is funny because it reminds me of him. But I could also see it would be really annoying if you didn't have that connection.
well now I get made fun, or I feel bad about John
Don't.
Mozeliak and his bow ties, and now I
Oh
feel
It's
well,
bad.
yeah, maybe
Now,
that you should.
yeah, now I feel bad about the Doyers because of family connections. So I
do
guess
you know
I'm not.
what you shouldn't feel bad about though?
What?
You apparently don't shop at Walmart because of Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, no, definitely don't stop at Walmart. Shop at
And it's
Walmart.
And
100% because of Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, 100%. F them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And with that, Stan Kroenke, we hate you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.